Hi, this is a review for Inkyo Futures for 2nd of February 2026. This is the 200 tick chart that I usually trade on. I've marked the overnight low, overnight high. This is the previous day low, and we also have the previous day high, as well as the previous day close. So before I start going into the day, I will go to the 10,000 tick chart to see the bigger picture. So over the last 2 months we have been ranging in this area, and the last week we had this uptrend which had a break, and then it played out with with an overshoot, 2 legs to new high. So one leg, second leg to new high, then we went into this large measure move to the downside, and we are close to reaching the bottom of this range here. So going into the session yesterday, after reaching this down measure move and having this clear bounce, we consider that we might have a bounce here. So we were setting the context to a potentially bullish one. So this is the 1000 tick chart for Inkyo. We can clearly see the 2 legs that were visible in the 10,000 tick chart, and we will draw this large trend to see how price reacts in this area here. We are interested to see if price easily pushes above this trend line and then going higher. That's the bullish scenario. Or if it finds resistance here and pushes below, right? It finds resistance, pushes below, makes 2 attempts to go through this trend line and fails to do so, then we would be looking for a continuation to the downside. So yeah, going on back on the 200 tick chart, we can see this pattern here coming off the down measure move that was met, then a break, 2 legs to new high. So this downtrend has a break, 1 leg, second leg to new high, before having a larger break here. You are interested at this break to see how price reacts if it fails to make a new high and pushes below, or if it manages to move higher. Then you may consider this initial trend playing out to be a single leg, and you are projecting a larger up leg here. So what ended happening in the overnight session before the market open is that we have this trend playing out, then this break, and then it's pushing higher here. So it's pushing, finding initially some resistance around this potential downtrend, which had this overshoot. But even so, we have the context to think bullish, because the large down measure move was met, and this potential trend line here has an overshoot, and all the downtrends played out as well. So all the single downtrends, the large one, even the last leg lower, played out with 2 legs to new low. And then we have this sharp reversal. So we're interested to see how this area holds. It initially found some resistance around that area, but it managed to push through. So right at the market open, we get this sharp push up, then a break, and then another leg up. So when we see that after playing out this initial spike, we are still getting bullish momentum, you are considering that a larger channel may be forming, right? So we initially have this channel. It fits well with the highs here, and this trend is played out. And you have this second up measure move in play now. So this trend also plays out with 2 legs to new high, but it the price keeps pushing higher, and you can clearly see it's kind of up trend with these small bars, which indicate very strong bullish momentum. It's a grind up. So when you see that you're getting this pushes up, you're starting to see what other major moves may be in place. So we initially have these two legs up to make a new high for this blue uptrend, but we overshot that. We retested to finally push above, and here we have a clear two-legged move coming from the overnight high and very close to this downtrend. So this is a key zone because we could have had something like this, maybe potentially even higher, failing to make a new high and pushing back from this downtrend line into a larger break at least, or eventually even going for a new high or a new low for this downtrend. But what happened instead is we get two legs back, right, for this smaller uptrend second leg of this measure move, but we clearly find support around this potential uptrend line. So after this two legs back and pushing above and holding, this would be a good moment to think of a long. The only problem is that we're coming off the overnight high, so it's a bit risky to take a long here. So finally we managed to push above, and at this moment we're considering that we might get something like this, retesting the overnight high, holding above it to push higher towards this up measure move that is in play. But instead what we're getting is just another push higher here and a choppy area here, so not many trades on the way up because the market was quite choppy the entire day. And one more thing to consider, since this two legs to a new high were exceeded and then we retested it on top of it, I would consider that this legs here form one leg, this is the break, and we may be going for another leg high. So yeah, something to keep in mind. So in this area we have this break, small channel here, which has an overshoot, a break, and then makes two legs to a new low, one leg, second leg before pushing higher. So when we see this push here and then this two-legged retest and push back above, I think it's a good indication that the uptrend is going to continue, because you had two attempts to make a new low and it's clearly holding. So once this bar closes above, I think it's a good trade to take. But I would say keep your target within this this top here. So potentially even like that. Moving on, we can clearly see that price attempted, and especially on this second leg down. So this downtrend played out. Then you have one leg down, second leg down, and a failure here. I think it's a good trade because you're still in a bullish uptrend, right? You clearly find support around this uptrend line. This downtrend played out with two legs to new low. And then for this entire potential downtrend, you have one attempt, second attempt to go for a new low, failure. So it's a failed second entry short in an uptrend, holding around this uptrend line. So I think it's good to go for a 1-to-1. Alright, finally we make a new high for this smaller leg here. We get another break and two more attempts to make a new high, we succeed. Then another leg down. So this initially we have this break, then two attempts to make a new high, and then we have another leg down. So it becomes something like this considering the bodies. So not the wick but the body. We have this two-legged move down, and then another push above, which indicates that a larger leg higher would be forming. So this is how price usually works in this very in trend days basically. New measure moves up, smaller and smaller get formed along the uptrend line. So we initially have this leg, which has 2 legs to a new high, right? But then this 2 legs to a new high get exceeded, we retest them and we push for a new high. We have a break, we hold on top of this initial legs up and we push further up. So when you see this, you think of combining these 2 legs into a single leg and having a second leg up as well. And then here, the same, we have this leg here, a break, one leg, second leg to a new high, correction, and then you have this other leg up. So the same idea here. You eventually get higher, more up measure moves, targets as the play. Clearly in here we overshoot. So if you think of this potential spike in the channel, we clearly overshoot here. So when you overshoot, you are considering that you may get a larger correction in order to get a break. So in this case, what happens is after this overshoot, you get the initial leg down, and you are considering that this uptrend here may even get a reversal or even just a break before continuing higher. You are not sure yet what it's going to be, but you are considering that it's a good reversal area, so you really want to watch how price reacts in this area as well. So after we have this initial leg down, a break, this is the second leg down, we are reaching this up trend line. We push to it. I think there was some news here. We overshoot this downtrend, we have a break, and then we have 2 attempts to make a new low. So first attempt to make a new low, this would be the second attempt to make a new low, and then we have a push, a failure basically. It's a failed second entry short from here. First entry short, second entry short, failure. It's failing, closing above the down measure move with this uptrend still in play in a very bullish day. So I think this was a good trade to take, because at this moment you are at least expecting a larger similar leg to this one to form. So something like this before pushing lower if the reversal was on. So that's the trade right there, but we end up pushing even higher. Again, a very slow grind up, and we're starting to consider that a spike in a channel may be in play here. So we have this initial channel. Now the uptrend continues, but it's a bit flatter, not to the same degree of bullishness. So considering this, we keep this swing and this swing to see how price reacts. We connect it to the top, and then after this break is in here, you are considering, as I mentioned, the 2 attempts to make a new high here being a break, and you want to see how price reacts here. If you get 2 attempts higher, a clear push below, right, even after pushing through this trend line, holding below, you may consider that a larger break, the second leg for this one, would form to go lower, and you would see this is a large fair second entry long to go lower. But what happened here is it initially found some resistance at this level, but it did not correct much. It held on top of the EMA and it pushed higher once again. So yeah, when you see this, you switch bias to bullish again, because it's clear that the price wants to continue higher. So it even reached this measure moves with a little reaction, just chopping higher. And it looks to be going into this small spike in a channel. Now, here's an interesting setup, because we push through this up measure move and we retest it with 2 legs here, and we bounce right off it. I think this higher low here, it's a good setup, because you have this 2 legs down visual legs. The initial push, another attempt to make a new low, and then a failure. So I think it's good to go for 1-1 with this potential grind up. So from this break, it looks like price made 2 more attempts to make a new high, eventually reaching that area. So, and what we can see is that within this channel here, we overshoot the larger channel here, the larger uptrend. So when we overshoot, we start to get a correction. The initial leg for the correction is this. You're considering it as a break, right? And you are looking to see how price reacts when it reaches this area. If it pushes back above, potentially makes a smaller picture, failed second entry short, then you consider a long with a bullish bias for the day to reach the up measure move that is still in play. But if you see the price making one leg, a clear break, and then on the second leg, it clearly pushes through it, like it happened here, and then it retests it from below. This means that the correction may succeed, and I like this for 1-1. Because, yeah, there's no reaction at this, which indicates that there may be larger correction legs coming into play. And assuming you have this overshoot here, once you get this entire leg and you have this push above the EMA, you start considering a potential larger break to get a break for this entire up channel. So in this case, I think this was a good short because the price formed first of all here, the failed second entry short. It pushed lower, it pushed this down measure move, retested it, confirmation that yeah, it's the correction might be even bigger than initially considered with the initial break. Then when you see this sharp push above the EMA here, you consider this as being a break or 2 attempts to make a new high for this channel here. So here it's a good indication that the overshoot here is a good indication that these 2 attempts may fail to make a new high in order to create a second leg lower to get a break for this up channel here. So overshoot lead to breaks, and it's exactly what happened here. So when you see these 2 spikes up and then this clear rejection below the EMA and below the up measure move, this is a good larger picture failed second entry long. Here's the failure, and it's good for a short because at this point you expect the downtrend to carry on to make a break for this uptrend. So this downtrend here, right, to continue to make a break for this downtrend in response to this overshoot. So you have this down measure move as a target, but you also want to consider this trend line as potential support. So ideally you would keep your target up to this trend line here. Alright, so price makes these two legs down. After reaching this measure move, it actually pushes into another reversal attempt, which ends up failing. And we get this another leg down. And I think I mentioned this a couple of times. Price usually likes to do this when it's failing to make what it's supposed to do. Like in this case, it's it sets up this failed second entry long here, failing to make a new high, and then it crashes below. When it does that, a lot of times price action will make a measure move to the opposite direction. So from this failure point here, this leg down is the first leg of a manipulation move, as I like to call them, to the opposite side. So fail to make a new high going long, then 2 legs in the other direction were created, and you can see it's respected to the almost to the tick here. All right, so this is its own downtrend. You can clearly see it's clearly overshooting first here and then continuing with the overshoot. But after it reached this measure move down, we can once again consider that price may attempt to make a new high for this uptrend again. So it's a good reversal area if we get a clear setup. So what this, from this area you would look for, this would be the cleanest setup. Push above this up measure move, retest it, hold above it to carry on higher. And this is exactly what we get here. So this downtrend played out with two legs. We get this push, this is just a higher low, but then we are getting this push here, and we are having this small break and the close above. I think this is a good entry, at least for 1-to-1, but assuming that we still had the bullish bias for the entire day, this downtrend had this overshoot, we're coming off this manipulation move. We expect a new high for this small uptrend here, and you still have these two targets in play. I think this is even good for a larger trade, something like this, because there are two scenarios that can happen here, right? It's either we continue up, which is the most likely scenario because of the bullish bias we had for the entire day, or eventually we end up forming a larger break for the uptrend, something like this. But to do that, usually we'll have this kind of break, right? Failing to make a new high, and then you push lower. Either way, you would expect to have a break on the other side of this downtrend. So here is why the target is there. It's quite that's the limit, but it ended up working. And when you see this spike up, right, two legs, you have the break playing out with two legs to new high. You consider this as first attempt to make a new high for the uptrend for the day. And we have this break, right? I will, you initially consider this break here as two attempts to make a new low for the downtrend here. So downtrend, overshoot, break, first attempt to make a new low, second attempt to make a new low, failure. When you see the failure here, this becomes just a break, right? And you are expecting a second leg to make a new high, similar to this one. So after price rushes above the EMA, closes above this downtrend, and retests it and holds on top of it, when you get a push like this one here, it's confirmation that price is launching into a second leg up, similar to this one. So I liked it. It's not the clearest setup, but you can clearly see the price holding above and closing above and launching into a larger move up. Of course, it could have done something like this. That's also on the table. So one leg down, break, and then launch into a larger attempt at a new low. But here, for example, if as long as you keep your target within this up measure move, you should be good to take the trade. Alright, so price pushes into that, makes the second leg up, then it goes ranging in this area. So this spike here plays out, then it has this break, pushes above, and then holding again on top. So I think it's a good trade to take, because this spike plays out, has two attempts to go back into this range here, but fails to do so. It pushes above the EMA and has even a smaller picture, fail second entry. What? When that happens and we get this hold above the EMA, I think it's good to go for a new leg higher. Then we get a new high, price goes back into this has this little break, then it pushes once again to another new high here. All right. So price finally makes two legs to a new high. Plays out here, it reaches the previous day high, and then it's looking like it makes this break and it forms this fair second entry long. It's a tricky one to take because you may consider this in place, so you are taking it right into this potential trend line. So it's a risky one. But regardless, after this entire uptrend playing out with this legs to a new high, price goes into a reversal. It initially starts like this, but you can clearly see the price extending. So it overshoots here. And when you see this overshoots, you're thinking it like this. So you have this leg down, the second leg down. There's no reaction here, indicating that the correction may be larger than expected. So you would ideally want some sort of a retest of that measure move to carry on lower. But in this case, price just shoots down, as this attempts to make a new high, failing. So this is a good trade to take, because it looks like the momentum is shifting. And since this down measure move here didn't really provide support, when you get, by the time you get this correction here, you are already considering this down measure move as being into play. All right, and you consider this as a break for this entire uptrend. Right, even here you may look into something like this. But yeah, so then this entry here is basically going short with this larger break, measure move in play, but you would like to keep your target at this potential downtrend low here. So yeah, we overshoot this down measure move, but we quickly bounce back above it. And this is a repeat of what happened here. So the break has an overshoot, and then it pushes back above. So, and the same here. So you have this failure here. From this failure point, price likes to do this manipulation moves down, as mentioned, failing to make what you would expect, then launches into two equal legs to the other direction. So once you see this price overshooting this downtrend and pushing back, you are considering a potential reversal, but you would like to see price hold. So in here you can clearly see the hold. So you have this spike up, first attempt lower, second attempt lower for this spike, and a clear failure. So I think this is a good trade for 1-to-1, going for a new high for this spike. Then another break and another push above. At that moment, yeah, you are considering that price may want to make a break. So this is the overshoot, this is the break, at least going for a break for this larger downtrend, which ended happening. Right, we had this uptrend playing out, has the break, and then it pushes into one attempt, second attempt to make a new low. It fails. So I think it's a good trade, because you have these two legs attempting a new low, a push above, a failure. So good for 1-to-1 with this break measure move in play. But then it reaches this area and it's pushing below again. So yeah, once you see this rejection here, you may get the idea that at least a larger break similar to this one is going to form before pushing higher again. But in this case, it just pushes, it chops a bit around this level here, but then it makes this 2 attempts to reverse before going lower. Now you can clearly see there is a range in here. It breaks the range lows, retesting this down measure move, spiking above, so very choppy. But what you can clearly see is from this low, you have one leg, second leg, and eventually you end up with this move here. So after this spike here, second leg of this potential break plays out, you have sharp push above. You go into this chop, but even within this chop you can clearly see there's initially this move, which is one leg higher, one leg lower, a break for this leg, another leg lower, 2 attempts to make a new high for this spike here, failing, which creates a larger leg down. So it creates this. This is one leg which has a break, failing to make a new high, and pushing below. So at that moment you consider this larger leg to be in place. I think it's a good trade because you still have this downtrend here, potentially going for a new low here. So if you keep your target to this range lows and this measure move down, then I think you can take a trade going short. And once you reach the bottom of this range and you see this sharp push above, now this is indicating that these 2 legs up may form as well. So yeah, I think it's a good area to trade as a range, right? We have this range, we're at the bottom of the range. So when you see this bullish hammer here and the close back into the range itself, I think it's good for a 1-to-1 trade at least. But in this case, what happens is it makes the second leg up, it pushes through it, it retests it from below, and you get this clear hold on top of it. So you initially had this chop and you were thinking this move may happen, but you did not find the resistance here. As first you push through it, you have this break, and even here you have a smaller picture, fair second entry short with a close, a failure here. So this is really a good trade because you get a hold on top of this. You have a clear correction from the large uptrend, and you are expecting the uptrend to have a new 2 attempts at a new high. So yeah, this is what happens here. Then it goes chopping in this range again, and that's it. The market's about to close. I will stop the recording here. I was thinking that yeah, basically even here you have one leg down, and then this would be the start of the second leg down, which looks to be comprised of 2 smaller legs and a hold above, good for a long. But yeah, it's around the market closing time, so I will stop here. Thanks for watching.